This is funny. Oh, this is gonna be a pain. I think I'm gonna use. Hello, I see there's one viewer online. This is funny. I see there's one viewer online. How are you? I'm a little bit new to Google Hangouts. So bear with me for a second while I'm trying to figure out the best way to do this. Figure out the best way to do this. So hello out there. I think you guys can hear me. I'm going to turn the camera back on for a quick second before we get into the presentation. It's 6:57. So there's a couple of viewers online. Yay! So welcome to tonight's presentation. My name is Helana Black. We'll be talking about what I did to be able to turn. So hello out there. I think you guys can hear me. I'm going to turn the camera back on for a second. Hello. I'm not sure if you guys can hear me. I went ahead and I turned off the video because there's echo in the there's an echo in the audio. This is my first time using Google Plus Hangouts, so bear with me. I may wind up having to go ahead and re-record this using a regular webinar because I'm not sure if this is going to turn out the way I want it to turn out. But I put a message over in the group chat. I'm not sure if you guys can see that. I was asking if you all could hear me. So if you can hear me, just put a little message in the group chat area. Or, let's see, alternatively, if you have a link to my page, you should be able to say something there as well. And I'll be able to see it to my Google Plus page. Let's see. So hopefully you guys can see, I'm screen sharing with you now my presentation. Today's presentation is called How I Turned One Ebook into $25,000. This is not a sort of a get rich quick sort of a scheme on how you can use ebooks to make quick money, but I'm going to give you sort of the story of my own personal journey into how I got into books and book publishing, and helping other people to publish their books. For the most part, I work with health and wellness clients, people who are medical professionals as well as healing arts professionals like health coaches, massage therapists, health educators, and a whole host of other professions. Let's see, what's that saying? I'm getting a message. I'm hoping that people can hear me. Oh, okay, great. Yes, you can hear me. Thank you, Chris. I believe your name is Kristan Turner. Thank you. Yes, you can hear me. Okay, so I'm seeing the messages on here. Great. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started because it's 7:02. So again, thank you for folks that are still pouring in to into the session today. I'm really excited to present this information. And this information today is geared towards people who are entrepreneurs or people who consider themselves to be experts, sidepreneurs, or people who are interested in becoming an entrepreneur of some kind. You know, this could be used for anyone. I was just explaining that for the most part, I work with people who are health and wellness professionals. However, this information is certainly not limited to people who are in the health and wellness field. This is for anyone who's interested in turning their expertise into a book that people can either purchase or you can strategically give away to others who may be able to help make decisions that can get you into places that you may not have been able to get into without having the ebook. So I'm really excited about sharing this information. What this is not is about a get-rich-quick scheme. There's a lot of information out there about people who are who go online and they make a lot of money quick, or they make big claims to being able to make quick money using an ebook. This is not that presentation at all. The money that I made, the $25,000 that I made, was made over probably a course of about 1.5 to 2 years, working part-time on my business. This is not something that I made in a couple of months. This is not something that's going to get you rich really quickly. So hopefully most of you are here because you're interested in putting a little bit of thought and energy into putting your passions out there and getting yourself known. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and get started. So welcome. I wanted to know, hopefully you got my mini workbook. If you didn't, you can go ahead and get access to that. It's a bit.ly link at bit.ly/ebook 225K. So EBOOKTO 25K. You can just go ahead and join the email list, and you will quickly get a link in your email asking you to download the mini workbook that I prepared for you guys. There's a few questions in the pre-webinar. I believe it's the second page of the mini workbook. You can sort of answer that as we go along, or you can answer that as we get towards the end of the presentation. No worries. If you don't have it, you are not able to download it, you can certainly just use a piece of paper, as we'll be discussing some of the information. We'll be discussing some of the information. Okay, so we'll be discussing some of that information on once we get to it in another part of the presentation. So let's see. So a little bit more about me. Who am I? My name is Helana Black. I'm an author, an editor, a freelance writer, as well as a book coach. Part of my background is I was also an adult educator for about 10, 12 years, working with adult learners in Washington, D.C., and also in other places across the world. My book, I am an author. My book is called Loving My Fibroids Away, a 10-Day Detox Plan. I've also done some work as a result of my ebook as a healthy cooking instructor, a recipe writer, a women's health advocate. I'm also doing podcasting now. I'm a podcaster. My podcast is called Digital Well Publisher. You can find it on iTunes, and it was recently listed on the iTunes New and Noteworthy list. If you're in Orlando and you would like to meet with me personally, or in the Orlando, Florida area, I do run the Orlando chapter of the Nonfiction Writers Association. So if you're ever in Orlando, I would love to be able to see you there. You can go on to meetup.com if you're interested about that. You can find me there. These are a few of my clients that I work with. I've been very, very fortunate to work with some really great people who have really big messages of health and wellness that they'd like to share with people. These are just a few of my favorite clients, one of which is Dr. Dre. You may have seen him on television, on radio. He's very, very big on social media. Ellen Dolgen here, as well as Doug Foresta. And here's a few other companies that I've done some writing work for as well, as far as marketing their health messages for them as well. So who is this presentation really for today? This presentation is for entrepreneurs and experts who would like to be able to know about new ways to be an author and know how being an author is going to be able to benefit them. They'll also be able to know how they can create new streams of income and how they can grow how they can grow their business in addition to their main source of income. And also, if you're interested towards the end, if you stick around with me towards the end, you'll be able to learn how you can find mentorship with someone like myself who can support you in creating a professional ebook. So stick around with me towards the end. I'll have a great program to be able to share with you. So, how I got into the book business in the first place. Okay, great. Okay, so how I got into the book business in the first place. Well, as I said earlier, And I spent about 12 years of my professional life working as an adult educator in Washington, D.C., as well as some other countries. I've been very, very fortunate to be able to travel to various countries in West Africa. I spent 2 years in Togo, as well as I spent some time in Ghana. Mali is my favorite country in West Africa, Burkina Faso, as well as a few other places, and working on adult education projects. So adult education is very, very near and dear to my heart. However, the problem was at the time, I'd always wanted a career where I could have a little bit more time for myself and be able to set my own schedule and just sort of work on projects, more projects that were more fulfilling to me. So in 2009, my life sort of began a downward spiral. I was moving towards a divorce. I was in a very expensive doctoral program that I ultimately decided to quit. I got surgery for uterine fibroids, which are non-cancerous tumors in the uterus. It's a major surgery, and it's a problem that had bothered me for years, and I had ultimately written about in my book, Loving My Fibroids Away. However, 6 months after having that surgery, I had also learned that those fibroids were coming back. And so that sort of sparked a whole new quest for wellness in my own life. And then I had lost my job. And then even after I had lost my job, sort of in the background of all this, I had been very depressed from losing my own mother to breast cancer when she was only 49 years old. So the year 2009 was sort of a pivotal year for me. So what I learned during that time was that everything I had worked for up to that point, I really no longer wanted. So if I didn't want things, I thought I really wanted out of my life. And when I really sat down and thought about it, my response really was, I didn't know, which was a very, very scary, scary answer. You know, you spend so much time in going to school, and you think you know what you want and you're moving towards it. And as you start to get it, you still have this feeling of being just unhappy with what it is that you've been working so hard for. I would wake up very, very early in the morning, work throughout the day, go to school at night. I wasn't eating well. I just wasn't happy. And then I would come home at night. And of course, my home life wasn't a very happy place, which is a part of the reason why my husband and I decided to just get a divorce. And so I really had no space in my life where I felt like, where I was really comfortable or I was doing anything that I wanted to do. So I really had to make some changes in my life. So what I did was I turned to writing for solace. I started a new blog. Up until that point, I had been a blogger, but I had been blogging for personal purposes and for my professional career in adult education. But I felt like I needed to start a new blog, which was called Garlic and Lemons. I still have the blog. If you're interested, you can find it at garlicandlemonsmag.com. And what I did on that blog was I used it as a space. Originally, it wasn't meant for business purposes, but it was more of a personal journal on finding myself again after all of these changes I had in my life. And my first post was called I Quit, which was really just a manifesto on how I was no longer going to live my life. I had just decided that there were just some certain things that I was no longer going to take. And I was expressing that I had a new dedication to exploring my passions and my interests. I decided that, this working for employers that didn't appreciate me or doing things in jobs that I didn't really enjoy, not that I was expecting to be 210% happy at every moment of my job, but I just knew that there were just bigger and better things out there for me to be able to accomplish than what I was doing. So yeah, I use this blog, Garlic and Lemons, as my own little personal space for me to be able to rethink and just sort of restart my own life on the internet. So while I was doing this, I was learning how to cook from scratch. You know, big whoop for some people, but for me, it was a really big deal. I had always had a really big interest in just learning how to not use things from boxes like pancakes and you know, just, you know, these instant rice, you know, mixes with all kinds of extra salt and things in it, because I knew that it was those things that were making me sick. And so I started to take whatever sort of cooking class I could find. These weren't professional cooking classes. These were usually just, you know, any random person who was offering a free or a low-cost cooking class. I would go and I would take it. It usually had some sort of a health spin to it. One of the revolutionary things that I did was I cleaned off the papers from my dining room table so that I can actually eat on it. I had spent so many years sitting at a dining room table with so many books and papers from work and from school, and it really just made no sense that my dining room table was used for everything else other than eating. So I decided to clean it off, and you know, from that point on, I decided that my dining room table would only be used specifically for the purpose of eating. And then, of course, I started to exercise regularly, and I also opened myself up to meeting new people and exploring these new interests. So within that, I started to create a new vision for myself. I did a 30-day raw food cleanse, which helped me to get clear on my personal goals. Of course, I'm not advocating a raw food diet. I'm just saying it helped me at that time. And, you know, if that's something that you're interested in, I would suggest that you go out and learn some information about it as well. But eating that raw food diet for 30 days really got me clear that my calling was to work in food health and wellness as a teacher and a writer. And so I just after so many years of being pulled in all these other different directions that really weren't making me happy, this was really the first time in my life that I really felt pulled, compelled to do this one thing. And I just started to pursue it with all of my heart. I continued to blog and connect with women all over the world, women in particular who had uterine fibroids. And so I was just getting all these emails from women, like quite literally all from all over the planet. I mean, these were women from African countries, European countries. I got a few from South America, some from the Philippines, Australia, and of course, most of the women were coming from the United States as well, because I'm an English speaker. But I mean, just the rate of growth of my posts on fibroids, even to this day, when I'm not even really marketing those posts as much as I probably should. I mean, people just pick it up all over the planet. I mean, it's just really crazy how I was able, in my own quest, to just be able to connect with a few people to find out if there was anybody out there in the world who was going through a similar health experience that I was. There were all these women all over the world who were looking for that same sort of a thing. So I learned that it's really important to pick yourself up and look for help when you need it. You know, help is very, very important. It just, rather than sit there, you really want to go out and look for the help when you need it. So my little community grew. I've got a few hundred people who are following me on my blog and my blog posts. And my community pushed me towards turning some of my best blog posts and turning it into a book. Now, at this time, I knew nothing about book publishing. The only thing I knew about ebooks in particular were the little PDF ebooks that I would get in my email for free. I really didn't know a whole lot about Amazon. Um, I just didn't know a lot about it. Certainly not as much as I do now. But I decided to go ahead and give it a go. You know, why not bother? Why not try? And so I created a goal was to write and publish my first ebook in the matter of 3 weeks. So what I did then was I announced it to my email list as a pre-sale. And what happened that evening was I made my first $50 in the first couple of hours of even announcing it just to my email list alone. And that in itself marked a huge transition in how I saw myself. I saw myself as a person who maybe it was possible for me to learn how to use my own talents and skills to be able to create a living for myself. You know, I had just started to learn about different people in the online marketing space and what they were doing with, you know, taking what it is that they knew and creating books and um, all types of other products. But I never really thought that that was something that I could do until I saw that $50 hit my PayPal. That was just a really, really exciting moment for me. So that money that continued to come into my PayPal, that money really encouraged me to stick to my goal. But of course, there were some obstacles along the way. Of course, my computer broke down, the only computer that I had. There was internet issues at home. It wasn't my own internet. At the time, I was living with other relatives, and then, you know, they were just having internet issues. So what I did was I used a local library. When I wasn't going to work on certain days, I would spend the other days at the local library from the time it opened until the time it closed on their public computers, typing away, trying to write my ebook. And then when I came home in the evenings, I would edit at home using my cell phone. Now, of course, you know, it wasn't a really cool smartphone that we have now. It was actually a really crappy little um, cell phone that I had that was, um, the screen used to jump all over the place every time I tried to uh, to make an edit. But you know what? I was determined, and I got it done. So I was very, very proud of myself. So once the book was done, I was like, okay, well, now what? I quickly realized that I could sell a limited amount of the books using my list. You know, you can keep telling people, the book is available, the book is available. You can go on my website, you can make a purchase, and certainly lots of people did. But at the time, I only had a few hundred people on my website, and you know, if you know anything about email marketing, only about 10% of your list will actually go out and make a purchase every time you go out and every time you make a new offer to them. You know, so that money that I was making from the actual sale of the book really just wasn't life changing. Um, Although the accomplishment of completing the book was really great for me, it really wasn't money that was going to lead towards me being able to leave my job. Um, and just to give you some statistics on the sale of nonfiction books, which most of us would probably be interested in if you're some sort of an expert or an entrepreneur. Nonfiction books sell less than 250 copies per year in their first year, and certainly less than 3,000 copies in its entire lifetime. So if you thought that you were just going to make a book and, you know, just create all these sales, I'm not saying that that's not possible. I'm just saying that you need to be able to think about how else you're going to be able to make money from your book outside of just making sales. So yeah, so my new realization, while the book sales are important, what really matters for most nonfiction authors is the opportunities that being an author can bring. So, you know, that's really what the bulk of this presentation today is going to be about. Thinking about what other opportunities being an author can bring for you. So I'm going to share with you a few of the opportunities that being a book author has brought on for me. One, I was able to pitch myself as an instructor in the healthy foods program at Whole Foods Market in the trendy neighborhood of Tribeca in New York City. I also became a year-long consultant as a recipe developer and instructor for an after-school program for kids in Brooklyn. I got requests for paid demos at book fairs, health fairs, special events. I also became a recipe writer for high-level health coaches and nutritionists and chefs, chefs in particular who had no idea how to prepare healthy foods. And then, of course, as it always happens, my life kind of changed. My hubby was who had already had kidney failure. He was becoming more ill and he needed more care, and he was getting closer to needing a kidney transplant. And so at that point, I decided that I needed to do something that required less scheduled time away from home, so that I could work more easily work from home as well as from his bedside whenever we wound up going to late night trips to the ER, or if he was in the hospital for a few days to weeks at a time. And so what that meant for me was that I had to reposition my own expertise. I was no longer just a home cook who teaches healthy cooking classes. I had to decide that I wanted to step into a new role as a writer and an editor. Why writing and editing? Because writing and editing for me was very easy to do with just a simple laptop and internet access. So what I did was I got some quick training from reading blogs and ebooks, and started to find some paid writing opportunities. And what some of those opportunities actually led to for me was being able to ghostwrite books. I was starting to edit books. I started blogging for well-established food, supplement, and lifestyle companies. I started writing sales pages for products and programs. I started doing recipe writing, website copy. All of these started to become new income streams for me. All of these started to become new income streams for me to be able to supplement my income, so that because I could no longer go out and do those cooking classes anymore. The long schedules and the long days and the going out to buy food and all those things, although I love those things and still do, at this moment in time, I just don't have the time to be able to do it. So, being a writer, a full-time writer now, is really the next best thing for me. And in a very short period of time, this is still a year and a half to 2 years, I've been able to build up my clientele so that I'm working with clients who've been featured in some of these spaces and even more spaces. The Rachel Ray Show, the Washington Post, the Time Turner Morning Show, the Today Show, HuffPost Live, NPR, the show The Doctors. These are all things that I never really set out to do these things on purpose. And so it's if you start to think about what it is that you can do when you approach these sorts of projects with passion and purpose, the sorts of things that we can accomplish is just really crazy. So why am I bothering to share this information with you at all? The truth is that my experience with writing this ebook is not special. As I told you before, I wrote this ebook. I didn't know anything about book publishing when I started it. And it took me about 1.5 to 2 years to create the $25,000 that I created directly from writing this book, and just being able to get other opportunities to be able to do other things. It's a possibility that you could certainly do more than that. There's some people who can do more in a short period of time. For others, it may take a little longer. It all depends on who you are, your work ethic, and what it is that you're trying to accomplish. But my point in saying all this is that, you can do this. This is not something that, I've particularly, no one showed me how to do this. This is all something that I created for myself. You don't have to sit and feel unappreciated at a job where people don't respect you. You don't have to feel like your best gifts and skills can only be used as a side business or something that you do as a hobby. And you have an absolute right to design a life to design your life in a way that you see fit. So really my lesson that I learned here was to really pay attention to the yearnings of your heart, because there's no telling where it can lead you. All of this came as a part of that 30-day raw food cleanse, and just getting super, super clear on what it is that I was supposed to do, and I followed it. No one gave me any real instructions. This is just something that I followed through. So I know many of you are on here today because you're interested in doing the same thing. And I want you to know that you're in the right place. So from here, what we're going to do is, if you have your workbook with you, you can take out your little mini workbook that I sent to you through your email. If you don't have it, it's cool. No worries. Don't go, looking for it. You can just sort of take out a piece of paper. And we're going to go through the 10 income streams that you as an author can create as part of writing an ebook or a print book or any sort of a book that you want to create. I'm only giving you the 10 that I'm familiar with. There are many, many, many others. As a matter of fact, I wrote a free ebook, which if you've opted into my email list, you'll have access to that as well, where I give you 28 ways that you could create new income from your ebook. But yeah, I'm only going to go through, for the sake of time, I'm only going to go through 10 today. So let's go ahead and get started. 10 income streams for authors. Number one is freelance writing. If you have an expertise, or everyone has an expertise, there is some sort of a magazine, a blog, another company website. All of these people need some sort of content for whatever it is that they produce, and they're always looking for writers. And of course, certain places will pay more than others, but they're looking for people with your sort of expertise. So you could certainly start a career as a freelance writer if you love to write that much. If you have an ebook, you can also create companion workbooks. Everyone that I know of that goes to do speaking engagements, and then they sort of sell stuff in the back of the room, they'll have a main book, and then they'll have some sort of a workbook that coincides with whatever it is that they had in the main book. So if you have an ebook, you can create a companion workbook that you can sell alongside of the ebook to go along with a larger program, a coaching program, or anything like that. So that's something for you to think about. Number three, consulting, coaching, and mentoring. You can use your ebook as just sort of a beginning program for people who are interested in working with you. Ebooks have a tendency to have a low price tag attached to it. I've seen them anywhere from free to even 99 cents to upwards of $9 and $10. Those are, pretty cheap. It doesn't take a whole lot of money to be able to invest in that. And sometimes it's not that your, potential clients don't have the money. They just want to see, they just want to have a small experience with you first before they invest in your larger ticket programs, in your consulting, coaching, and mentoring. So your ebook is a really great way to give them a taste as to what it is that they may be able to experience when they do invest in those larger ticket programs like your consulting, coaching, and mentoring. So if that's something that you're interested in, an ebook is a great way for you to get started on. You can create in book series, either print book or ebook. I myself have worked with some folks who have created ebook series that they sell on Amazon, and they'll have 3, 5, sometimes more ebooks in the series. And what happens is that in Amazon really likes to see books on similar topics, because Amazon will start to promote it for you. When people are going online to look for, information about, I don't know, how to live with less salt in your diet, we'll just use that as an example. And you have a series of books on how to help people who are overweight to live with less salt in their diet. Each book will be able to promote itself when they go onto Amazon, because they'll start to see mentions of it on other parts of Amazon when they're looking for similar books. So if you're interested in doing that, if you want to create a book series, that would certainly be a smart way for you to go. You can also create an e-course. E-courses are very, very popular. As people are, they're I don't want to say that they're choosing not to go to college, but there's a lot of people who are looking for learning that is quick, fast, and in a hurry. Certainly when I decided that I wanted to focus more on writing in my business as opposed to just doing the teaching of the cooking classes, I wasn't looking to go back to school and get a master's in creative writing. I just didn't have that kind of time. I needed something that was going to be quick. And so I got to, some blog posts, started off with that, and then I got into the ebooks, and then got into some short e-courses as well, where I got a lot of really great information in a short amount of time, and I was able to hit the ground running. And, as I showed you, I've been able to work with some really great clients who've been in the mainstream media. And, if it wasn't for those e-courses and things that I took, I wouldn't have had that opportunity. So certainly creating an e-course to go along with your e-book would be beneficial for you. Moving along, let's see. You can create templates, cheat sheets, and checklists. If you have a signature system that you're talking about in your book, and you have some sort of a way for people to be able to implement your system quicker with the use of these template cheat sheets and checklists, you don't always have to give that away for free. You can offer that as a supplement to the ebook for an additional price. People love these things. Okay, just figure out how else you can create more value for your clients, so that they can get the information quicker and implement it faster in their business, in their lives, or whoever it is that you're working with. So that's templates, cheat sheets, and checklists. And then, of course, there's speaking engagements. For those of you who are interested in doing things like keynote speeches, speaking at conferences, doing workshops and trainings, an ebook is certainly a great place to be able to start, so that you can pitch yourself to people who create these events, whether they're online events or in-person events. All of those are opportunities for you to be paid, and to be paid well. Speaking engagements. I had gone to a conference where I had met a woman who was telling me that she was making $75,000 in 1 month off of speaking engagements. And of course, she wasn't a new speaker. Obviously, you don't just, jump out the gate and start making $75,000 a month on your speaking. But it was something that she had worked to in maybe 4 or 5 years, but still, if speaking is really what it is that you want to do, why not just start off with an ebook so that you'll have something to pitch to conference organizers and on people who put together online events and things as a way for you to begin to get your name out there. So speaking engagements. Membership programs. Membership programs are a really nice income source for people who are interested in getting potentially passive income every month from a group of people who want to be able to work with you. I say potentially because depending on how your membership program is set up, it could be a lot of work or it could be very little work. It all depends on how you set your own membership program up. So yeah, membership programs. I actually have a membership program to go along with my own ebook. That's why I put this in there. And so I have a group of women who get a special podcast on that helps them with their own uterine fibroids. They get access to other ebooks and things that I write, as well as access to a lot of other healing arts professionals that I connect with on a regular basis, so that they have access to that. And so they can go in, they can be a part of the membership program, and they can do that for as long as they want. All right, so that's membership programs. So you can also do retreats. A lot of people like to do retreats. If you want, you could do something like, you can go to some sort of an exotic location. Some people like to do cruises. Some people like to do things right around the corner, from their home. Just a nice quiet space where they can meet with people in person and they can work through whatever sort of signature program they've created with their ebook. And finally, you can do in-person classes. You can do in-person classes where you could do something like I did the in-person classes at Whole Foods or in other places. You could also go to something like a museum. You could go to some sort of an adult education center, like a gardening center. If you happen to teach something that is relevant to whatever it is that particular organization does, they will also often love to have outsiders come in and be able to teach a special class. And you can use your ebook as a way to be able to help pitch yourself and position yourself as an expert in your field for either one-time classes where you can come in for an hour or a few hours, or you can teach a series of classes over a course of several weeks. It's all up to you. So, as far as next steps are concerned, because we're getting, let's see, it's 7:43. All right, so next steps. So at the very beginning, I told you that, I was sort of setting this up in a way for you to sort of introduce you to a system where you could learn how to create your own professional ebook, as well as position yourself as an expert. So if you're an entrepreneur or an expert who's ready to share your unique gifts and talents with your tribe via a polished and professional looking info product, but are unsure as to how to actually get that done, or are you an entrepreneur expert who desperately wants to stand out in a sea of coaches, business consultants, healers, and other experts, but are not sure where to start? That one is a big one. We all know, I see a lot of the people who are on this phone call, there's a million other people who do pretty much the same work that we do. And it can be a challenge to be able to separate yourself from other people who are doing similar work. An ebook is a really great way for you to be able to start to do that. Also, are you an entrepreneur or an expert who probably has several unfinished book projects sitting on your hard drive, but just haven't found the time or the energy to complete any of them? Some people are, you're either procrastinating on completing it, or you just don't know how to complete it, and you've got questions about how to complete it, but you don't have anyone to ask. Are you an entrepreneur or an expert who wants to know how to write an ebook, but are confused about how to go about making real money with it? Do you need any sort of a real strategy to really be able to attack your own positioning, so that you're not wasting time, months, weeks, years, trying to figure out whether or not you're going towards the right group of people? And also, finally, if you're an entrepreneur or an expert who wants to work from home or travel while you work, but are afraid you won't be able to have enough money to be able to create the life you want. So, everyone, or, not everyone, but lots of people have a dream of being able to leave their job. But the fear of being able to make sure that you'll have enough income in your business to sustain yourself and your family is real. So, we've got rent to pay, mortgage to pay, car notes and things like that. Having ebooks or a series of ebooks and creating other income streams around your books is really a great way for you to be able to ensure that you do have the income coming into your business the way that you want. So that if you decide that you want to work a full-time job and work on the side, you can do that. If you decide that at some point you'd like to quit your job and you'd like to make that a goal for you, this is a great way. Writing an ebook is a great way to be able to get started with that. So if that sounds like you, then I want to invite you to join my e-course. It's called Publish and Profit with eBooks System. So this is a 4-week course, just to give you a little introduction to it. It's a 4-week course. It's starting on September 6th, 2015. Now, I understand September 6th is the day before Labor Day. But September 6th is just going to be the introduction of the course. And of course, if you're traveling and you just honestly can't get to the introductory class, there'll be a recording for you so that you'll be able to get the rest of the information. But yeah, it's a great 4-week course where we're going to sit down and be able to discuss your particular ebook message and what it is that you'd like to be able to accomplish with creating your ebook. We also go into the publishing portion of it, where to publish it, where to put it on your own website. Do you put it on Amazon? And what about all these other publishing systems that you can use? We go into that information, as well as marketing. Marketing is super important, because if you don't know how to market your book, or to even to market yourself so that you can open yourself to other opportunities, writing the ebook would just be for naught. It just would have made no sense for you. So that's the Publish and Profit with ebook system. So more specifically, our first class meeting, which I said is on September 6th, you'll learn how to position your expertise and your message that will have clients begging to work with you. And then that following Wednesday, September 9th, we get into class 1 on writing, where you're going to be able to learn some time-saving writing techniques that will help you create a writing schedule, produce an outline. You learn the basics of self-editing your own work, as well as learning how to create a killer title for your ebook. Even if you don't consider yourself to be a good writer, let me tell you, I have a lot of people who tell me that they don't think that they could work with me, or they don't think that they can write books because they don't feel like they're a good writer. I happen to think differently. I work with people who have learning disabilities. I work with people who are just not really used to writing, and they're still able to write books. And the reason that they're still able to write books is because they have hired me to edit the books for them. I'm not saying that you got to hire me to do the editing for you. I'm just saying that don't cut yourself off of an opportunity because you don't think that um, you're able to do it. Um, there's always a way for you to be able to do it. You can be the published author. I don't really care who you are or where you came from, and wherever you think your writing skills are, you can become an author. So we'll talk about that in class 1. Class 2, we get to editing, formatting, and publishing your ebook. You'll learn how not to be taken advantage of when hiring editors, book formatters, and publishing platform companies to help you with publishing your book. This is really, really important because I have seen people just spend all kinds of money in areas where it's really just not necessary. I was just speaking to a young lady yesterday who took a $5,000 ebook course just so she can get a basic ebook and put that thing on Amazon, and that was all she got. And I don't know with that $5,000, you know, that was just something that she was willing to do, but I don't think it was all that necessary. Class 3 will be on marketing and promotion. We'll learn the secrets to creating a winning book cover. Book covers are super important. I've seen a lot of bad book covers. I myself, when I did my very first cover, not the cover that's on my ebook now, I went on Craigslist and I found a graphic artist, and she sent me a portfolio of work that I thought was absolutely beautiful, and I just couldn't understand why she would volunteer to do a cover for me. And then, of course, I told her what I wanted, and she sent me back some work, and it just didn't match the portfolio. So, you know, I believe she probably just stole someone else's work in her portfolio and tried to pass it off as her own, just trying to get the work, which is really unnecessary. So I'm going to teach you the basics of what to look for in a good book cover, as well as some places where you'll be able to find good quality covers at a range of prices. I'll teach you how to get ebook reviews, as well as build a strong book marketing campaign on a shoestring budget. And then we'll get into class 4, where we'll be talking about polishing your brand. That'll be our closing class. You'll get guidance on how to use the bonus materials to help you further build your brand, position yourself for opportunities that were simply made for you, as well as create new income streams. And then, of course, lastly, as a feature of the book, a feature of the e-course rather, is that you'll be able to connect with other people in the class via Facebook group. So you'll be able to connect with your fellow classmates. You'll be able to swap writing drafts, as well as share your successes and be able to ask questions. You know, I don't pretend to know everything about the publishing industry. I know a lot of things. I know more than most. But I know there's also other people out there who have a wealth of knowledge and experience, and that's why I love having Facebook groups. It's because, you know, we can all sort of learn from each other and be able to work towards completing our goal of completing our ebooks. And then, of course, as part of completing the course, I have a few bonus items that I could share with you. You'll be able to get a copy of your guide to self-editing your book before you hire a professional. So I share with you my very own system for learning how to self-edit. It cuts down a lot of time for a professional editor to be able to go through your book so that you can get your book in the best possible shape before you pay somebody else to look at it. Also, you'll get a copy of my ebook publishing checklist for self-publishers, and this is something that I use for all of my clients when they're working on ebooks or any sort of a book. Just a checklist to make sure that you're doing everything step by step. And then number 3, you'll be able to get my nonfiction ebook template. So if you're looking for a great way for you to be able to get your ebook formatted using a Microsoft Word document, you'll have this little ebook template that you can use for your project. And the bonus materials go on. You can also get let's see, picture expertise email templates. So when you're sending an email to a company or a person in particular who can help you with getting a speaking gig or teaching a class, there's a few things that you should include in the email so that you can pitch yourself in the right light. So I'm going to share with you some of those email templates so that you can use them and just sort of plug in your own personal information and send that off to people when you want to. And then, of course, I have a couple of bonus interviews with ebook authors who have successfully spun their ebooks into other money-making ventures like freelance writing, becoming a public speaker, and a whole host of other types of work. So again, Publish and Profit with Ebook System is a 4-week course. The class starts on Sunday, September 6th at 7 p.m. The class will be delivered via a series of private videos, homework, and live group coaching. All the lessons will be emailed to you on Sundays, and there'll be a place online where you'll be able to get them as well. And then we'll have live group coaching on Wednesdays. And of course, if you're unable to join us for any of the live sessions, all of the classes will be recorded. Okay, so what's your investment for this 4-week course? It's $167 for the whole full 4-week course. Or if you like, you can also do a 2-payment plan of $97, which I think is pretty reasonable. There's a little bit of a hike in the cost if you do a 2-payment, of course. But of course, I reward people who pay up front in full, so it's $167 for those folks. So how can you enroll? You can go to this bit.ly link here, bit.ly/publish profit. Publish profit. You just go to this link here and you will be able to go online and read more about the program. And if you are ready to move forward with the course that starts on September 6th, I'll be happy to have you. If you have questions or concerns, or you want to speak to me before you do any of that stuff, you can email me. Take out a pen and a piece of paper. My email is halanablack@gmail.com. That's spelled HALONABLACK@gmail.com. That's halanablack@gmail.com. So let's see. I'm trying to go through my online questions here. I'm in the group chat. I don't see anyone in the group chat. Like I told you before in the beginning, this is my first time doing this via a Google Hangout. I'm not sure if I'll use this system again. I might just go ahead and just pay for a some sort of a webinar system. But if you're here and you can get to the group chat and you have questions, I welcome you to ask them in the group chat so that I can answer them for you. Let's see. Yeah, so if you have questions, you can enter them in the group chat there. Other than that, I'm just going to sort of hang out for a minute. I invite you to go over to the page bit.ly//publish profit. You can go and learn more about the course on Publish and Profit with eBooks. I would really love to have you. Again, if you wanted to send me an email, you can do that at halanablack@gmail.com. That's HALONABLACK@gmail.com. That brings us to exactly 8 p.m. Wow, exactly 1 hour. So I guess if there's no questions, then I'm going to go ahead and close it out. The page will still be available. If you're on my email list, um, you'll get more information. I'll have this class open through September 6th. So if you're interested in joining me for this course, I'd be so excited to have you. Again, as bit.ly/publish profit. Or you can just email me if you have questions or concerns at halanablack@gmail.com. So thank you so much. Again, my name's Halana Black. You can find me at digitalwellpublisher.com. You can join me on my weekly podcasts that I do there. You can go to the website and just join my email list, and you'll get information on my podcast, as well as all the other great stuff that I'm doing to help entrepreneurs who are interested in publishing. So that's all I have for this evening. Thanks so much for joining me for the last hour. You guys have been troopers. Thank you so much. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make sure that I send this recording out to everyone as well so you can share it with others. So thanks. Have a great night.